Hello, I'm Gina, and this is English to Express It. In this video, we will look at the English we can teach to our students so they can express their preferences in English. When we allow students to tell us their preferences, what they would prefer to do in our classrooms, we teach in a trauma-sensitive way. Trauma tells students that they do not have options. Your classroom can show them that they do have options. This can empower students. So I will look at some of the ways we can give students options and the functional language we can teach so they can tell us which options they choose, their preferences. Students who have experienced trauma often become tired or overwhelmed in our classrooms. We can provide an option for them to take a break when they need one. If your classroom has a quiet corner for students to sit and take a break, this can be a break space. Or if you do not have a place in your classroom for students to take a break, they could simply put their heads down on their desk or table and rest. What is the language they would need to ask for a break? We can teach students to say, "Can I take a break now?" and "I need a break." Another way you can provide options in your classroom is to allow students to choose whether to carry out an activity by themselves or work with a partner. There may be days where students might prefer to simply work independently, or there might be days where they want the help of other students. Yet another strategy you can use is to give students options for which mode they will use to carry out a task. What do I mean? Provide them the option to think, talk, or write. For example, you could begin a new topic in your classroom with a question on the board. Students could be given 5 minutes to either think about it quietly to themselves, talk about it with a partner, or write their answer to the question. All of these modes would allow students to reach the same goal, to access what they already know or believe about the topic. Also, there may be times when you want to give students the option of which activity they carry out. For example, you might be teaching a unit in which students are learning about the different elements that make a village or a city. Especially since students may be sensitive to remembering their own village or city due to traumatic experiences, providing options for the activity type is helpful. To apply student learning, you could give students many options, such as writing a poem that describes an ideal village that they would like to live in the future, drawing a picture that shows the different elements of a village, or creating a short speech about their village if they're comfortable with this topic. If the different options require different materials, for example, paper and pencils for drawing, you could create stations in your classroom where students can find the tools and the information they need to work. For all of these different types of options I just described, you can teach students functional language like these examples. I choose to, I would like to, I want to. Finally, teachers often choose which students will be in groups and what each group member's role will be. Instead, you can allow students to choose their own group sometimes and allow members to choose their own role within the group. Groups often include roles such as the leader, the recorder who writes down what is said, and the reporter who tells the class what the group decided or created. To be able to express these choices in English, we could teach language such as, "I want to work with this group. I want to work with your group. I want to be the..." Remember, to really support students with the functional language they need in your classroom, show it. Have it hanging on the wall or written on the board or written on a paper that students keep at their desks. Remind students about it and demonstrate using it before an activity to model it for them. In this way, you really will be giving your students the ability to say their preferences in English. Those choices can lead to students learning far more.